Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour. Ousted Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro pleads not guilty in a U.S. court. Delcy Rodriguez sworn in interim president as opposition leader Maria Corina Machado vows to return home quickly. European leaders push back against U.S. President Trump, say Greenland belongs to its people. Hindu businessman shot dead, woman gang raped in Bangladesh amid rising attacks on minorities. And Ukraine President Zelensky and his European and U.S. allies meet in Paris on security guarantees. Bangladesh is witnessing a disturbing surge in violent attacks against members of the Hindu community, with multiple incidents reported across the country in recent days. From sexual violence to targeted killings, these cases are raising serious questions about minority safety and law and order.
A 40-year-old Hindu man, owner of a grocery shop, has been murdered after unidentified attackers struck him with a sharp weapon in Narsingdi city of Bangladesh. The murder of grocery trader Moni Chakraborty has increased fear and anger in the minority communities across the country. Moni Chakraborty was attacked with a sharp weapon while returning home after closing his shop at Charsindur Bazaar on Monday. He later succumbed to his injuries. Local business owners formed a human chain demanding justice.
উনি আমাদের প্রতিবেশী সে এলাকায় সবার কাছে সুপরিচিত ছোট বড় সবার কাছে সুপরিচিত এবং এলাকায় সে তার কোনো দুর্নাম নেই কিন্তু বাইরে কি করে না করে এটা আমাদের জানা নেই এবং যে এলাকায় কি বাইরে কি কেউ ওটার সঙ্গে কোনো শত্রুতা আছে কিনা এটাও আমাদের জানার বাইরে আগামীকালকে সন্ধ্যার সময় মাগরিব বাদ এই মাগরিবের আঘাত হয়তো কে বা কারা তার আততায়ীদের গুলিতে সে নিহত হয়েছে.
Bangladesh continues to witness brutal attacks on the Hindu community in recent weeks. On Monday, a Hindu businessman and journalist Rana Pratap Bairagi was shot dead in public at Kopalia Bazaar in Jashore. Bairagi, who was also the acting editor of a local newspaper, was fatally shot in the head by unidentified assailants. Police have launched an investigation.
Well, unfortunately, the Bangladesh society appears to have been much more radicalized in recent past. In Bangladesh, this is not the first time that these things are happening. They may not be orchestrated by a particular group. It could be stray incidents. But there has been a history about it. Since the 80s, 90s, we have seen that there have been minorities have been targeted in many ways.
On Monday, incident of a brutal gang rape with a Hindu woman also came to light, which stunned the minority communities in Bangladesh. She was tied to a tree and severely tortured in Kaliganj, Upazila of Jinaida district. The incident exposes the grim reality faced by minorities amid the unchecked activities of extremist groups. Officials said the incident occurred on December 31, though the complaint was filed later as victim was undergoing medical treatment. She was rescued in critical condition and admitted to hospital. One accused has been arrested and the investigation is going on.
Not a single person has been caught. And actually, in between the deaths of these 6 people that now counting today has happened, there was also news about a terrible rape. A widow who was raped, and then they tied her to a tree and cut off her hair. And, it is absolutely unbelievably cruel, inhuman stuff which is going on. And I think more and more, even the recent 6th death, that also they're saying is because of jizya, because they're demanding jizya, and when the person cannot pay, then they come and, and they're really trying to frighten everybody into leaving Bangladesh.
These incidents put a question mark over minority safety, law and order, and accountability of administration in Bangladesh. families of victims, including Khokon Chandra Das, Bajendra Biswas, Amrit Mondal, and Deepu Chandra Das, continue to await justice as investigations remain slow and perpetrators often go unpunished. Ravinder Chauhan's report for DD India.
And my colleague Naval Parmar now joins us on the phone line from Dhaka for more. Naval Singh, do you see a pattern to these killings? Were these random attacks or targeted killings? Were the assailants, for instance, all belonging to a particular community? And did they have any political affiliation?
In the last fortnight, there are around 6 people have been killed, and all are from the minority community, Hindu community. Most of them are business person, and they are the bread earner, and having a age around between 30 to 40 years. And if you see the assailant, there is belongs to a particular community, and they have an affiliation with the fundamentalist political party like Tohidi Janta. This kind of parallel we can draw, that the assailants belongs to particular community and the victim are from the Hindu minority communities. So and apart from that, there is no any prior animosity amongst the victim and assailant. So it is kind of a targeted killing and pre-election kind of a intimidation kind of to create a atmosphere of fear and intimidation among the minority community to come forwards for vote. And in fact, some of the occasion, the party leaders, many of the fundamentalist political parties leader also openly claim or openly threaten people that if you are not voting for us, then you will not be allowed to vote. This kind of statement are surfacing in the media also. So this is the worrisome things.
Indeed. And talking about the government in Dhaka, Naval Singh, what has the Bangladesh government said or done in these past few days to either punish the guilty or prevent such attacks and also to protect the Hindus?
I want to point out here that in last 24 hours, yesterday evening to till now, in 24 hours, there were 2 serious incidents of mob lynching, or we can say killing of the minority Hindu business person. There is no official statement from the government side. In fact, in media in Bangladesh has covered these things. That is fine. But the government, from the official statement, there is no official statement from the Yunus administration or law and order, like Ministry of Home Affairs. There is no statement. There is no action. There is, I think, there is no arrest in these 2 cases. Police complaint have been registered, but there is no still arrest in these 2 cases. However, in the alleged gang rape case, there is one arrest. Some person called Hassan have been arrested. But the issue is the incident happened, the alleged gang rape incident happened on 31st, and the case was registered on 5th. So after 5 days, the incident like gang rape got FIR. So this is the lack of policing, or there is no preventive kind of policing, and the lack of seriousness
Indeed.
in police department.
Indeed, as my colleague Naval Singh is pointing out, this is a telling commentary on the attitude, approach of the government in Dhaka. As he was pointing out, there's been zero statement from Dhaka, complete radio silence on the latest killings, including lynchings of Hindu men in Bangladesh. And that, as I was pointing out, is a sad commentary on the state of affairs obtaining in Bangladesh today. Right, we'll leave it there for now. Naval Singh in Dhaka, thank you, appreciate it. Right, moving on, the UN has confirmed that it will not send observers for Bangladesh's parliamentary election scheduled for 12th February. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres' spokesperson said that the UN does not deploy election observers without a mandate from either the UN General Assembly or the Security Council. Meanwhile, Transparency International Bangladesh has criticized the Bangladesh Election Commission's decision to cover accommodation and meal expenses for foreign election observers. Its executive director called it imprudent, discriminatory and contradictory to the principles of impartial election observation. Venezuela's opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has vowed to return home quickly, praising U.S. President Donald Trump for toppling her enemy Nicolas Maduro. In the U.S., Speaker Mike Johnson defended President Trump, but opposition lawmaker Chuck Schumer criticized the U.S. action in Venezuela, even as the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights called U.S. intervention in Venezuela as a violation of international law.
The U.S. military operation in Venezuela continues to evoke mixed reactions. U.S. Congress remained divided after Secretary of State Marco Rubio briefed lawmakers regarding U.S. military operations in Venezuela.
The U.S. military operation in Venezuela was a decisive and justified action. Nicolas Maduro is responsible for the deaths of untold thousands of Americans after years of trafficking illegal drugs and violent cartel members into our country. This is undisputed and everybody agrees with it.
Well, this briefing, while very extensive and long, posed far more questions than it ever answered. Their plan for the U.S. running Venezuela is vague, based on wishful thinking, and unsatisfying.
UN Human Rights Office too expressed concerns over situation in Venezuela following U.S. military operation.
We are deeply worried about the situation in Venezuela following the U.S. military operation over the weekend. It is clear that the operation undermined a fundamental principle of international law, that states must not threaten or use force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state.
Also on Tuesday, China repeated its criticism of U.S. military actions in Venezuela.
As a permanent member of the UN Security Council, the United States has disregarded the serious concerns of the international community and recklessly infringed on Venezuela's sovereignty, security, and legitimate rights and interests. China firmly opposes this.
On the other hand, Venezuela's main opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, has vowed to return home quickly. Earlier on Monday, Venezuela's Vice President and Oil Minister, Delcy Rodriguez, was formally sworn in as the country's interim president. Fuzail Ahmed's report for DD India.
Meanwhile, Cuba announced on Tuesday the names and ranks of the 32 Cuban military and Interior Ministry personnel killed in Venezuela during the U.S. raid. According to a Cuban government TV presenter, the deceased were serving on missions representing Cuba's Revolutionary Armed Forces and Ministry of Interior at the request of Venezuelan agencies. The announcement included a detailed list of the fallen personnel comprising 21 members from the Ministry of Interior and 11 from the Revolutionary Armed Forces, ranging in age from 26 to 67 years old. Colombia has reaffirmed its commitment to collaborating with the U.S. in a fight against drug trafficking, using American intelligence and technology to enhance the efforts. Colombia's Interior Minister has said that Bogota's anti-drug operations would target drug laboratories, criminal organizations, and their camps.
The Colombian government, through the Interior Ministry and Justice Ministry, informs the United States government through one of their intelligence agencies that we will continue coordinating and cooperating in the fight against drug trafficking, based on intelligence and their technology to destroy laboratories and criminal structure and their camps.
The fight against drug trafficking must continue to be waged jointly with technology, with all the advances in cooperation that the U.S. can give us. We will continue to emphasize the fight against this scourge, particularly on the Colombian-Venezuelan border. The purpose is to continue walking hand in hand against this scourge that causes so much damage to both countries.
Still to come on DD India Newshour. Iran unrest completes 10 days, shows no sign of abating. And Thailand-Cambodia ceasefire remains fragile as their armies trade accusations. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Tensions are rising in the Arctic as US President Trump has once again voiced interest in annexing Greenland. His remarks have sparked strong reactions from Greenlandic, Danish and other European leaders. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay brings us more.
Greenland's Prime Minister called for renewed talks with the United States after President Donald Trump repeated his desire to annex the mineral-rich Arctic territory. On Tuesday, leaders from France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Spain, Britain and Denmark issued a joint statement reaffirming that Greenland belongs to its people and that only Denmark and Greenland can decide on matters concerning their relations. The declaration came in direct response to Trump's renewed interest in acquiring the autonomous Arctic island. The leaders stressed that security in the Arctic must be achieved collectively in cooperation with NATO allies, including the United States. They also underscored the importance of upholding the principles of the United Nations Charter sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the inviolability of borders. Meanwhile, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said Denmark can count on European solidarity over Greenland while warning that NATO members should never attack or threaten each other.
No member of the NATO should attack or threaten another member of the NATO. Otherwise, it would lose its meaning if conflict or aggressive action occurred within the alliance.
Meanwhile, residents in Greenland voiced their growing concern over Trump's comments, particularly in light of America's military operation in Venezuela.
I feel like saying no, but I think we probably have to say that there are indications that he simply does what he wants. So yes, I think we must take Trump's statements more seriously.
We have now been hearing this for about a year. So one's first thought is that now he's saying these things again. But you get a bit more worried.
With Greenland at the center of transatlantic tensions, European leaders are standing firm on sovereignty and NATO unity. As for now, the Arctic island remains a symbol of both strategic importance and political friction. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
Ukraine's key allies meet in Paris to discuss security guarantees for Kyiv as part of efforts to move forward with a US-brokered peace plan intended to end nearly 4 years of the Ukraine-Russia conflict. US negotiators Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are also in attendance. The meeting, billed as the Coalition of the Willing, focused on preparing a shared position among Ukraine, Europe and the US on what security commitments should look like if a ceasefire were achieved. Mohammad Absarul Hassan has more.
Key European allies of Ukraine and top US envoys met President Volodymyr Zelensky in Paris on Tuesday in their latest bid to agree security guarantees for any ceasefire in Russia's war against its neighbor. The summit brings together representatives from around 35 countries, including 27 heads of state, with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky attending alongside senior US negotiators Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. The meeting, organized under what is being called the Coalition of the Willing, focused on preparing a shared position among Ukraine, Europe and the US on what security commitments should look like if a ceasefire is achieved. Leaders aim to outline guarantees that would deter future aggression from Russia and reassure Ukraine it won't face renewed attacks without firm international backing. Some members of the coalition aim to send a multinational force to Ukraine to deter any future Russian attack if the war sparked by Russia's February 2022 invasion ends. Russia has repeatedly opposed any NATO boots on ground in Ukraine to monitor a halt in hostilities. The draft text underscores how discussions on security guarantees have advanced in recent weeks, even though Moscow has given no public sign that it would accept such arrangements. The draft says Ukraine's allies will agree that security guarantees must include binding commitments to support Kyiv in case of a future armed attack by Russia. These commitments may include the use of military capabilities, intelligence and logistical support, diplomatic initiatives, adoption of additional sanctions. Kyiv has long said it cannot be safe without guarantees that are comparable to the NATO alliance's mutual defense agreement to deter Russia from attacking again. Moscow wants any peace deal to bar Ukraine from military alliances. The draft statement for Tuesday's meeting also said that allies will participate in a US-led ceasefire monitoring and verification mechanism. The draft statement also foresees continued long-term military assistance for Ukraine as well as multinational force for Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron expressed optimism about talks, highlighting the meeting's role in strengthening deterrence. However, there are still significant obstacles. Russia has shown little willingness to accept current proposals, and disagreements remain over territorial issues, especially regarding control of the parts of the Donbas region. Zelensky has repeatedly stated he will not sign a peace deal that fails to prevent future invasions or requires ceding Ukrainian territory, a stance rooted in both security concerns and constitutional law. Mohammad Absarul Hassan for TT India.
Thailand's army has said that its Cambodian counterpart has claimed that a fresh cross-border fire was an accident after Bangkok accused Phnom Penh of violating a 10-day-old truce with a strike that wounded one of its soldiers. The two countries agreed a truce on 27th December, ending 3 weeks of clashes. Thai army accused Cambodia's forces of firing mortar rounds into Thailand's Ubon Ratchathani province. One soldier was wounded by shrapnel and was evacuated for medical treatment. The Thai army said afterwards that the Cambodian side had contacted a Thai military unit and claimed that there was no intention to fire into Thai territory, adding that the incident was caused by an operational error by Cambodian personnel. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar called on Luxembourg's Prime Minister Luc Frieden on Tuesday. Minister Jaishankar conveyed warm greetings of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two leaders discussed about the growing cooperation between India and Luxembourg in financial services, investment, technology and innovation. The minister praised Luxembourg's role in strengthening India-EU relations. During his visit, the minister will interact with the Indian diaspora. Torrential rains battered Indonesia's Siau Island, causing a flash flood that killed at least 16 people, with another 3 missing. An overflowing river flooded 4 towns on the small island north of Sulawesi on Monday. The country's disaster mitigation agency said that 22 people were injured and nearly 700 villagers displaced. The flood cut off access to some roads and damaged dozens of homes as well as public buildings and infrastructure. Floods are common in Indonesia during the monsoons, which typically occurs between October and March. And DD India's Chandni Vasandani has more from Jakarta. Chandni, can you tell us about the latest situation on the ground in the North Sulawesi province, and what do we know so far about the casualties?
Reports have said that 16 people have been confirmed dead after flash floods swept through the island of Siau in North Sulawesi after heavy rain early on Monday. Local authorities have said that rescue personnel have been deployed to search for 3 people who are still missing. And so far, 18 people have been reported injured. Now, the search and evacuation effort is hampered by many roads that are still blocked by debris, mud, and big rocks. So this is really slowing down the search and evacuation effort. More than 200 police personnel have been deployed to help with the evacuation of local residents, distributing aid, and setting up health services.
Also, Chandni, what impact have the floods had on residents? Are there concerns about further flooding in the coming days?
The impact is quite significant. More than 600 local residents have been evacuated to temporary shelters in local schools and churches. And we have also seen the devastating images of destroyed homes and government buildings, and the damage is quite extensive. And heavy machinery such as excavators have been deployed to clear at least some of the main roads. Now, authorities are saying that the risk is not over. These floods have occurred at the peak of the wet season in Sulawesi, and there is a forecast of continued rains in Sulawesi and throughout Indonesia in the month of January and February. So there is a lot of concern about more floods and more heavy rains.
All right, we'll leave you there for now, Chandni. Thank you. Chandni Vasandani reporting there from Jakarta, Indonesia. Right, now take a look at what else is making news around the world. Tens of thousands of people gathered in Cape Town, South Africa for a carnival that dates back to the mid-19th century. Streets were filled with color and music. Marching troops showcased drummers, banjos, costumes and dancing. The event is widely regarded as Africa's largest cultural festival. The Pope closed the Catholic Church's Holy Year on Tuesday by sealing the Holy Door at St. Peter's Basilica. Pilgrims had entered special doors at 4 Rome basilicas and attended papal audiences throughout the year. Clad in gold-trimmed robes, the Pope ended the celebrations with the next Holy Year expected in 2033 to mark 2,000 years since Lord Jesus' death. And snow blanketed Paris on Tuesday as icy weather hit northwestern Europe this week. Frosty layers covered parts of the Eiffel Tower and Haussmannian buildings around the capital city. Tourists walked on the snow on the Trocadero platform facing the Eiffel Tower. And still to come on DD India Newshour. An expert take on how and why Hindus are being targeted in Bangladesh.
This week on Defense Dynamics, India is reshaping its military structure with Bhaira formations. What are ramjet-powered artillery shells? And how India's rocket punch gets an emergency boost with Suryastra. As Europe and Israel turn to India for industrial depth, my take explains the why. Watch Defense Dynamics this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. Ousted Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro pleads not guilty in a U.S. court. Delcy Rodriguez sworn in interim president as opposition leader Maria Corina Machado vows to return home quickly. European leaders push back against U.S. President Trump, say Greenland belongs to its people. Hindu businessman shot dead, woman gang raped in Bangladesh amid rising attacks on minorities. And Ukraine President Zelensky and his European and US allies meet in Paris on security guarantees. All right, going back to the top news we are tracking here on DD India News are killings of Hindus in Bangladesh. 2 killings in 24 hours and 6 in the last 18 days alone raises concerns over the safety of the Hindu minority there. And joining us is Professor Veena Sikri. She's a former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh and Malaysia. Professor, welcome to DD India News Hour. Now, 40-year-old Sharad Chakraborty Moni, a grocery shop owner, was killed in Bangladesh on Monday, 5th January. But he's not the first. Let me go through the list for the benefit of our viewers. Rana Pratap Bairagi, journalist, was shot and had his throat slit at Manirampur in Jashore district. Kokon Das, 50 years old, a pharmacy owner, was attacked while returning home after closing his shop in Keharbhanga Bazaar. Rajendra Bishwas, a garment factory worker, shot dead while on duty in Mymensingh. Amrit Mondal, 29, was lynched by a mob in Rajbari. And Deepu Chandra Das, a garment factory worker, was lynched by a mob. His body hung from a tree and set on fire in Mymensingh. The question is, are these isolated, sporadic crimes, or is it more sinister than that? Do you see a political conspiracy or a motive or design behind these killings?
You know, one is forced to see a definite pattern in all these killings because this has been happening since the 5th of August last year. And we know that on the 5th of August last year, when Sheikh Hasina left Dhaka, I mean, these were the three things that started simultaneously at that time. First was the attack on the Awami League. Every statue of Sheikh Mujib or Sheikh Hasina or any institution named after them, Awami Leaguers were taken to jail, charged with murder. So many were killed. That was one stream. Second stream of activities was against the minorities, the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Christians, and even the Muslim minorities like Sufis and Ahmadiyas. All of them were attacked bitterly. Their shrines were torched, their temples were burned, their churches and monasteries were spoiled and desecrated. And this has been continuing since then. And since then, they've been saying, no, this is not, this is just happening just like that. But we know that, say, for example, the tragic lynching of Deepu Chandra Das, or the killing of the person today, in fact, now what is happening in the last few days, in the last 2 or 3 killings, there is even reports coming out in Bangladesh that this is because the people, especially in rural areas, are insisting on being paid jizya, the jizya tax, the tax that in Aurangzeb's time they were charging from non-Muslims. That tax is now being demanded from the non-Muslims. And they're being told either you pay or you will be shot dead. And this is what has happened. The shopkeeper, he was absolutely one of those. His own relatives have said that these same people who shot him dead, they had come a couple of days earlier and asking him to pay a jizya tax. So this is such a, worrisome situation for the minorities in Bangladesh. Yeah, that it needs to be looked into.
Absolutely.
And why it's not causing any comment in the Western countries. I think India has to take very serious.
Indeed, we'll come to all of that in just a bit, Professor. But in the meantime, since you refer to a pattern in these killings, people want to know and are wondering tonight as we speak, were the assailants all belonging to a particular community, number one? And were they affiliated to a political party or organization? So what is your assessment? I'm talking about the assailants here.
Yeah. No, I think that the fact that most of the killers, right from last year, have been from the non-minorities. That means they've not been either Hindus or Buddhists or Christian, and certainly not Sufis or Ahmadiyya. So that leaves that for the Muslim. That is one thing that has been a very prominent pattern. Now the question is whether they have political affiliation. Very much what has happened since last July, August in Bangladesh is that the Jamaat-e-Islami is in charge. They are the party behind Dr. Muhammad Yunus, and he is more or less doing their bidding. He is their spokesperson, as it were. Now there is also the BNP, and there's a lot of the BNP that is responsible for the extortionist activities in the rural areas. And they've been sort of, whether it is taking extortion from the farmers or from the minorities or even from factory owners, it is the BNP that has been really been given the blame for this. That right from last year, they are the ones who have been doing this. And of course, the minority communities always remember that it was the BNP when Khaleda Zia was elected Prime Minister in 2001. For 3 months, there was a complete killing spree on the minorities because the BNP, the victorious BNP rural leader said, well, you didn't vote for us, so we're going to get you. That kind of thing. And this time, because after 15 years of Awami League's rule, continuous 15 years, the BNP was feeling completely, isolated, and they got back with a real vengeance this time. And a lot of the activities in the rural areas are being blamed on the BNP, so much so that the minorities do not want to vote for the BNP.
Right.
So they don't want to go into the vote at all. They said, we don't want to vote at all, and we'll never vote for the BNP because they are the ones who are doing all this. Earlier on, they were the ones who were responsible for it in 2001. They have never forgotten that. And even now, the last 18 months, we know it's their people who's doing all this to us. So there's a great deal of dissatisfaction. And I think one of the important factors should be to work for inclusive elections, not just fixed a friendly match between BNP and Jamaat, but between all the parties. Yeah.
Even more appallingly, Professor Sikri, sexual violence against Hindu women has also been reported. A 40-year-old woman was tortured, raped, tied to a tree and had her hair cut. And there's hardly been any outrage in Bangladesh. Why is that so? And more importantly, what does that tell you about Bangladesh's government and people today?
Absolutely, they are not concerned at all. In fact, I think the treatment of the women has been really horrendous because, the rapes and the lynchings have been there since last year. And I must tell you that this is something that is affecting all the women of Bangladesh. In fact, all the women of Bangladesh, they now, in fact, are scared even to go on the streets alone. Although the women of Bangladesh are very dynamic and they are, among the factory workers, ready-made garment workers, they are largely women, millions of them working in the ready-made garment factories. But now, in the last 18 months, they are not allowed to go on the streets. They are questioned, why are you wearing this or the other? Why isn't your hair covered? Why are you wearing a teeka? They call it teep in Bangladesh, in Bengali. And they just don't want the women to be anywhere. And the atrocities against women in Bangladesh, all women, I would say, definitely all women, has really shown a marked increase, so much so that even all the rights for women, women have not been given any place even in the NCP, which is the Students' Party, so-called Students' Party, formed after the uprising. The last year it was, you cannot call it a revolution, you cannot call it a spontaneous student uprising, but whatever it was, there were women and there were a lot of the genuine students who got together with that, thinking that yes, this is for the overall cause of students. But very soon they realized there's nothing to do with students. This is only a Jamaati organization. It's the Islami Shibir. So the women left. And even now, when the NCP was formed and some women were still there in the convening committee, they actually, have left now. They resigned. They say there's no place for women there. So, the treatment of women has been really one problem. Yeah.
Indeed. And talking about the world, Professor Sikri, I have a twofold question for you. One, why do you think the killings of Hindus not created ripples in global media? Number one, why has the world media not taken note of these killings? And two, why have foreign governments or agencies not reacted to these killings either?
Oh, I think I would say this is downright hypocritical because the entire regime change operation took place with the support of certain countries. And if those countries, it was worked through Pakistan and Pakistan acted through the Jamaat-e-Islami. But the Western countries who supported that have just kept quiet. And I think that they themselves are highly embarrassed and maybe even to a certain extent ashamed that a person like Dr. Muhammad Yunus, whom they had placed all their trust in and who was expected to govern admirably and maintain law and order and bring the police back, because so many policemen were killed, thousands of policemen were killed during the July uprising, and the people who are today in charge, some of them have boasted on media that yes, we did kill policemen. If we did not, we would not have succeeded. So, that is the kind of atmosphere that is prevailing in
Absolutely.
Bangladesh.
Indeed.
Muhammad Yunus has not been able to bring it under control. He's not been able to bring in the slightest atmosphere of, rule of law, of international law or domestic law, respect for the constitution. And now, together with the election, they want to do a referendum. I mean, this is absolutely amazing that they want to do a referendum, which is not allowed by the constitution of Bangladesh as it is presently written. And they want to do it on the same day as the constitution. They want to bring in a series of questions, about 43 items, but they want the people to give a one yes or no answer. And the July charter, which is, they want that, is not even there attached to the referendum document. So, I mean, it shows that these the Jamaat-e-Islami is in a very great hurry. The talk, there's going to be a national government with the Jamaat-e-Islami and the BNP and with Dr. Mohammed Yunus as president. So it's a kind of a fixed match that is going on.
Indeed.
I think our government has been quite correct in speaking very firmly.
And talking about India, Professor Sikri, if I can get myself one last word on this discussion, what should India do to save the lives of these Hindus in Bangladesh? For instance, should India offer refuge to Bangladeshi Hindus?
I think India has to first make sure that the rule of law prevails in Bangladesh, because the number of the minorities is close to 2 crores.
Right.
Close to 2 crores. And I don't think that there's any part of India which could, take on such a law without any, So I think that there needs to be very serious thought about this.
Right.
That there has to be provision for them in Bangladesh. And interestingly, the minorities themselves, this time in August of 2024, they themselves said, we don't want to leave the country. We are citizens of Bangladesh. We want our rights. So, in fact, Chinmoy Das was organizing them, and he made a list of rights for them. But he was put in jail immediately for 1 year. More than 1 year, he's been in jail with no trial, no bail, no charges, nothing. So the efforts of the minority communities have been totally wasted. And yes, they're in a desperate condition. But I think it is first and foremost to say that Bangladesh must. The citizens of Bangladesh, they are demanding their rights, and they must be given their
Indeed,
rights.
so as you say, the onus lies on Dhaka and squarely on Dhaka itself to ensure that the minorities in general and Hindus in particular are protected in their country, is it not?
Absolutely.
All right, on that note, we'll leave it there for now. Professor Sikri, thank you for joining us and sharing your perspectives with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. And stepping forward to strengthen cooperation in the Bay of Bengal region, the second phase of the Specialized Capacity Building Program in Cancer Care was inaugurated at Tata Memorial Centre's Homi Bhabha Cancer Hospital and Research Centre in Visakhapatnam on Tuesday. This initiative by Ministry of External Affairs towards capacity building in the region with Indian expertise in critical areas of healthcare was announced by Prime Minister Modi at the 6th BIMSTEC Summit. This initiative, in line with India's Neighbourhood First, Act East and Mahasagar policies, will strengthen health cooperation further among the BIMSTEC countries. Electronics and Information Technology Minister Ashwini Vaishnav addressed a regional AI Impact Summit in Jaipur on Tuesday. He highlighted the importance of AI in our day-to-day lives. The minister said that to smoothly integrate AI into our lives, an AI mission has been established.
AI को अच्छे से भारत में डेवलप करने के लिए, हमारे नागरिकों के उपयोग में लाने के लिए माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बहुत एक क्लियर विजन हम सबके सामने रखा। उसका पहला प्रिंसिपल है टेक्नोलॉजी को डेमोक्रेटाइज करना, यानी हर एक व्यक्ति को टेक्नोलॉजी की उपलब्धता हो, भारत में टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलप हो सके, आत्मनिर्भर भारत के टेक्नोलॉजी के गोल्स हम पूरे कर सके। इस पूरे प्रेरणादायी विजन को लेकर एआई मिशन ने और मंत्रालय ने कई अच्छे एक्सपर्ट्स के साथ बातचीत करने के बाद में एआई मिशन की रचना की थी।
Wave X, the startup accelerator initiative under India's Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, signed a memorandum of understanding with Foundation for Innovation and Technology Transfer at IIT Delhi to collaborate on strengthening innovation, incubation and entrepreneurship in media, entertainment, broadcasting and communication technologies. The MOU was signed in the presence of the Information Broadcasting Secretary in New Delhi on Tuesday. Wave X is a national initiative aimed at fostering innovation and entrepreneurship by establishing and strengthening incubation centers across the country. Prime Minister Modi lauded the successful commissioning of the Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited's residue upgradation facility at the Vishak refinery in Andhra Pradesh. The Prime Minister called it a decisive leap in India's journey towards energy security and self-reliance. He said that this state-of-the-art facility adds momentum to India's efforts to boost energy independence, aligning with his government's Self-Reliant India campaign. The Potato Technology Institute in Haryana's Karnal has grown potatoes without using soil. The institute has used aeroponics to grow one of India's staple crops. The method is believed to be more effective as it will prevent soil-borne diseases, ensuring a healthier crop.
Potatoes, traditionally cultivated underground, are now being grown suspended in the air. Sounds incredible, but it's true. The Potato Technology Institute in Shamgarh village of Karnal district in Haryana is using aeroponics to grow this staple, without which food is hard to imagine in most parts of the world. Aeroponics is a method where nutrients are delivered as a fine mist directly to the roots. Apart from not requiring large tracts of land to grow a crop, the technique also helps prevent soil-borne diseases, ensuring healthier crops.
खेतों में जो लोग आलू लगा रहे हैं उसमें अब क्या है कि खेतों में लगाने की वजह से बार-बार वही क्रॉप लगाने की वजह से बहुत ही ज़्यादा पेस्ट डिजीज इन्फेस्टेशन जो है हमारे सॉइल में अब पाया जाने लगा है, जैसे कि स्कैब हो गया पोटैटो का, उसमें ये काफ़ी समस्या बढ़ती जा रही है। तो इन चीज़ों को जो है हमारा एरोपोनिक्स जिसे हम बोलते हैं, विदाउट द यूज ऑफ सॉइल इन द न्यूट्रिएंट सॉल्यूशन, मतलब कि भाप की तरह मिस्ट की फॉर्म में न्यूट्रिएंट्स को अप्लाई करके रूट जोन्स में, और वहां पे जो है सीड प्रोडक्शन का कार्य एरोपोनिक्स के माध्यम से हम सेंटर पे कर रहे हैं।
The institute also provides training to farmers interested in adopting this technique for potato cultivation.
कुल देखिए इसकी जो प्रायर जो चीज है, हम यहाँ पे क्या करते हैं, हमारे पास यहाँ टिश्यू कल्चर लैब है जो कि भारत सरकार से एक्रेडिटेड है। वहाँ पे हम CPRI से कल्चर ट्यूब लाके हम प्लांट्स बनाते हैं, जिसे आप आलू की पौध भी कह सकते हैं। उस पौध को फिर हम यहाँ पे ट्रांसप्लांट करते हैं अपने एरोपोनिक्स यूनिट में। यहाँ पे ट्रांसप्लांट करने के बाद पश्चात तकरीबन आप मान के चलिए कि 70-75 दिन के बाद से हमारी मिनी ट्यूबर की प्रोडक्शन शुरू हो जाती है और हम हार्वेस्टिंग करते हैं। 90 दिन तक हम यहाँ से मिनी ट्यूबर हार्वेस्ट करते हैं।
The institute has also developed a new potato variety, Kufri Uday, which matures faster, produces uniform high-quality tubers and resists common diseases.
Jammu and Kashmir continues to face dry weather, with Srinagar recording -4 degrees Celsius and Jammu waking up to dense fog at 5.2 degrees Celsius. The Met Office forecast no rain or snowfall until 10th January as Chilai Kalan intensifies. Chilai Kalan is a 40-day period of winter in Jammu and Kashmir known for extreme cold. Concerns mount over tourism, glacier recharge and groundwater reserves, raising long-term challenges for farmers and the local economy.
The weather report from Jammu and Kashmir is unlikely to bring cheer to residents of the Union Territory, as the local weather office has forecast that there is no likelihood of snowfall or rain until January 10th. On Tuesday, Srinagar recorded a minimum temperature of -4 degrees Celsius, which was 2.1 degrees below the seasonal average for this time of year. Jammu, meanwhile, witnessed dense fog in the early morning hours, with the minimum temperature at 5.2 degrees Celsius, a departure of 1.8 degrees below normal. Chance of rain or snowfall after the 10th also do not look bright, according to the meteorological department.
आज जो पोजीशन है, आज बिल्कुल ड्राई वेदर कंडीशंस बनेंगी। 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 तक तो यही पोजीशन है, जिसमें क्लियर स्काइज रहने के बड़े ज़्यादा चांसेस है। उसके चलते ये जो मिनिमम टेम्परेचर्स हमारे हैं, उनमें तकरीबन 2 या 3 डिग्री की गिरावट देखने को मिलेगी और तकरीबन ड्राई वेदर ही पूरे J&K में रहने के चांसेस हैं।
Kashmir is currently in the midst of Chillai Kala, the 40-day harshest winter period when night temperatures typically drop several degrees below the freezing point. The plains of the valley, however, have not received any snowfall so far this season. While the short-term impact of this weather trend is that fewer tourists visit the valley, the long-term impact on recharge of glaciers and groundwater is a matter of concern for farmers and the overall local economy.
And now to news from the world of sport. Chelsea has confirmed that French club Racing Strasbourg's English coach Liam Rossinier will take over as its head coach. Rossinier, who led Strasbourg to European qualification in his first season, replaces Enzo Maresca, who left the club on New Year's Day. Rossinier, who has represented England at the under-20 and under-21 levels, began his managerial career with an interim job at Derby County in 2022. He was then appointed full-time manager with Hull City in the EFL Championship. He was sacked in 2024 after failing to secure a playoff spot. A one-month countdown has started to roll on a screen in Milan, Italy on Tuesday to display the remaining time to the beginning of the 2026 Winter Olympic Games. The Games are scheduled to take place from the 6th to the 22nd February at sites across Lombardy and northeastern Italy. The 25th edition of the Winter Olympics will be the first to officially be co-hosted by multiple cities. Milan will host the ice events, and the remaining events will be held in clusters around Cortina, the Valtellina and Flem valleys. The Games will welcome more than 3,500 athletes from 93 countries, competing for 195 medals in 16 Olympic disciplines. The Games will feature the debut of ski mountaineering as a Winter Olympic event, while San Siro will host the opening ceremony. Indian captain Harmanpreet Kaur has moved up 2 spots to 13th position in the ICC Women's T20I batting rankings after her match-winning knock in the 5th and final T20I of their home series against Sri Lanka. Kaur's knock of 68 of 43 deliveries won her the Player of the Match award as she moved towards the top 10. Meanwhile, Amanjot Kaur has moved up 7 places to joint 78th position after India completed a 5-0 whitewash. The bowling rankings also see India left-arm spinner Sri Charani advance 5 places to 47th. Top-ranked Indian shuttler Lakshya Sen progressed to the second round of the season-opening Malaysia Open in Kuala Lumpur on Tuesday. Lakshya beat Singapore's Jia Heng Jason Tay in a first-round encounter that lasted 1 hour and 10 minutes. The 24-year-old from Almora, who won the Australian Open and also registered a final finish at the Hong Kong last season, beat world number 21 Tay in 3 sets. A 2021 World Championships bronze medalist, Lakshya, currently ranked world number 13, will next face Hong Kong's Lee on Thursday. And that's all for this edition of DD India Newshour. You can get the latest news on the DD India mobile app on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code to download it. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Newshour.